So, here in the San Diego Domestic Violence Council Faith-Based Committee, we are so honored to have our presenter today, Misty Cedrin. She is a retired lieutenant from the San Diego Police Department, retired actually at the start of COVID in 2020. And she has a wonderful, rich experience with the San Diego Police Department. And when she retired, she led both the San Diego Police Department's domestic violence unit and was the head of the downtown San Diego Family Justice Center. So I can't do your bio justice. Get it? But we are so proud to have your wealth of experience and also what you're doing in the faith community and to learn from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very sweet introduction. And Claudia, it's so good to see you. And I think you guys, it's not fair. You're all blanked out. I see Taya. It's like, I want to see you all. So, oh, there you go. Yay. I'm not talking to black screens. Thank you. That is very meaningful when I'm talking to instead of black squares. So it's so sweet, as Claudia, as you had said. Oh my goodness, my experience with family violence has been so many decades, and it's just something that people would say, "Oh, aren't you glad to be done with that?" I said, "No, because it's like Velcro, and you think it's stuck to me." I love the work. I was introduced to it back in 2000, early 2000s, when I was in the child abuse unit. And then I was very much gravitating towards that line of that genre of law enforcement. And so ending my career with the Family Justice Center and really, really understanding domestic violence was the pinnacle for me. So I'm super excited. And it's just sweet to see, Claudia, your involvement with the council and your leadership and just your energy that you've put behind Karen with this subcommittee of the council is so important. I cannot stress it enough. And we're all coming together. We may have different religions, right? Some of us may be Muslim, some of us may be Jewish, some of us may be Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or Christians. What we're talking about is the inclusiveness of the faith-based community that addresses the needs of the family. And when we talk about family violence, that's why this subcommittee, even though, yes, I'm retired, I feel like I'm no longer relevant anymore. We have to keep using what God has gifted us to keep putting the energy and effort into saving families, because that's the right thing to do. And the law enforcement community cannot do that. The nonprofit world cannot do that. But the God in heaven can, because of his power. And I think that he uses all of us in these subcommittees and all of us as a village to come around these families to help them. So having said that, thank you for everybody here of what you do to make a difference for this great county that we live in, that we call home. And Claudia, my hat is off to you. I had the job, and 3.5 years just was a blink for me, and it was over. But what you're doing and the great work up in North County is admirable. And so thank you for that. And so with that, what Karen had asked when she first invited me several months back, and she had said, maybe you could speak to what the law enforcement's perspective is on family violence prevention in the faith-based community. And I thought it was great, because if I cut my sentence off in the first half, right, the law enforcement perspective on family violence prevention, and I didn't finish that sentence, I wouldn't have much to say. Because the law enforcement community really is not in the, we're going to say, prevention business by nature. I'm saying we, I'm not sworn anymore. The law enforcement community, they react and respond to radio calls of violence. They don't proact and do it. That job comes organically from families. And then when I see the faith-based community, I'm thinking, yes, that's it. And Karen, we first were kicking this soccer ball around years ago, and I said, I solely support the efforts of this committee, because this is really, I think, a pathway that you can measure with measurable outcomes that can totally make a difference, because we're transforming men and women into understanding about how, the enemy, let's call him Satan, the devil, is using to destroy the family. And one of those ways is through this violence. So my point that I want to say is to start off, because police officers that respond to the radio call have a very short touch point with the family, super short, right? Their job is to answer the radio, assess what happened, separate the parties, get as much information, do a preliminary investigation, make a decision if an arrest is necessary by the law, take a report, make a referral for the victim, provide whatever resources they can on a limited basis. And then guess what, folks? They're done. They have to go to the next radio call. And then that football is passed to a detective. And when I was the lieutenant or the domestic violence unit, that unit at that time was averaging 7,500 to 8,000 cases per year. And if you do the math with about 15, 16, 17 detectives, their caseload is extraordinary. And I would use the analogy oftentimes of, anybody ever seen the I Love Lucy comedy show where there's a clip of Lucy and Ethel on the assembly line eating the chocolate candies? They're shoving them in their mouth so fast that they can't even swallow them. That's what it's like to be in the domestic violence unit for SDPD. I can't speak to the sheriff's department or Chula Vista, but I will tell you, their touch point is actually longer than patrol, but it's still not enough. Their job is to then assess on the face value of that crime report. They interact with the victim. They'll re-interview them if they have time. Sometimes they're just looking to see, does the case meet the requirements? And then they will forward that for prosecution with the city attorney or the district attorney. So they're going to make referrals. And it was great because we were co-located. The SDPD domestic violence unit was co-located, as it still is, downtown San Diego, which made it very efficient. But I don't think we were really doing as much as we could. The nonprofits do a great job as the partnership to be effective of giving pathways to these victims. But there is so much more that can be done in a huge part of San Diego County, and that's the faith-based community. And because of the value that these organizations, when I call them organizations, they're nonprofit, but they're either Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Jehovah Witness, Mormon, whatever the genre is, that's their mission work, right? Is we go to church because we're sick, we're full of sin, we're broken people, and we go for encouragement and guidance, and the Holy Spirit convicts us of what we're doing. But we're hearing these messages, these sermons from a authority book, whether it's the Quran or the Torah or the Holy Bible of 66 books. We're hearing this message from these leadership who are talking to us about how the institution of marriage should look, and how to raise a family should look through the authority of God. So because these faith-based communities can access whole families, they're a perfect road, freeway, if you will, to introduce domestic violence, intimate partner violence prevention. So that's why I'm passionate with you all here, is to get out there and get these churches, these synagogues, to partner up with the DV Council. And I think that if we're laying people off, we're cutting the resources from the council that you need to be able to go out and do that. What a sad priority list our decision makers in this county are doing, because it's not a good, talk about an investment. That is an investment of financial investment of personnel to go out and work side by side with these faith-based community leaders. That's going to pay dividends at reducing the amount of radio calls, the amount of the prosecution. I mean, even I know Claudia, the DV or the DA's office and the city attorney, they're swamped with these cases. Wouldn't it be great that all of the nonprofits for intimate partner violence had no job? That would be the one time of unemployment I would applaud. So the faith-based community, though, needs to understand, see, we sprint, law enforcement, nonprofits, we all sprint, right? We're going from one case to the next case, to the next case, to the next radio call. But the faith-based community is in it from cradle to grave. They're in it with the families. That's a marathon for them to run, not a sprint like all of us in this room that we're gathered together. So it's a big, big, big difference. And that's why I applaud the efforts of what you're doing. And I cannot say enough. Claudia, I'm sad that you're not going to be a part of this subcommittee, because God has positioned you so beautifully with the county as a leader, especially in One Safe Place, so large, one of the largest now in the country. To be connected to this subcommittee that Karen is so tirelessly trying to keep together and go is a loss. And I don't know who the replacement is, but I'm sure they're going to be wonderful. But I'm sorry to say a but. Our elected officials need to know that the efforts of this mighty little subcommittee can do and make such a difference. And I say that with such conviction. So not only can they really help provide these pathways, right, for these families, but they can, it's not just from the sermon, from the person standing in front of a group of people giving them encouragement from God's word. There's all these women's Bible study groups. There's men's Bible study groups. There's so many women's and men's events throughout the faith-based community within their own synagogues and churches and mosques that they can go to, that it's this community of family where all of those problems get flushed out. They can start doing some awareness and some teaching. And I hate to say it, but you guys all know this, oppression, the number one beginning as it percolates through the family, it doesn't just start off with an abuser just cold cocking and strangling their victim, their loved one. It's slow and progressive, and it percolates over hours, days, weeks, and months, and then it escalates into this monster. But if they're in their faith-based community hearing messages from those leaders that oppression and teaching that as a biblical principle, that's like the ingredient number one to bake a cake. You got to have the leavening agent or the flour, right? So, but along with oppression, because so many of these things that the law cannot address, you can't prosecute anything about oppression when a radio call happens. You can't say, yes, officer, my husband's making me feel stupid. My husband calls me fat. My husband says I can't cook. My husband is jealous. There is no intervention at that point from the law, but there is intervention from the faith-based community when you can bring men to come around men and support them, and the same with the women. The other thing I will say this, because the law enforcement community handles what we'll call the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff, right? The big stuff is that tall stuff on that tree, which is the oppressiveness, the attitudes of families and marriages and what our healthy relationships look like. But the downside on the faith-based community, and I would be the first one to be a big mouth in it. I have a big mouth, right, Claudia? Is to say to the faith-based community, pull your head out of the sand. It's time for you in the leadership role as the imam or the rabbi or the minister, the pastor, the priest, to say, we have a congregation full of hurting people, full of sin. and let's address the family and that all those things that are going wrong. But oftentimes those faith-based communities are still stuck in ego and pride, and they don't want to admit that their congregation is having this problem. Just like pornography. Oh, not our parish, not our group of fellow, congregation members. No, they don't do that. Well, yes, they do. Child porn, child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, intimate partner violence. It's all happening in the home. Whether your congregation is 300 or 3,000, statistics are going to say turn to your left and turn to your right, and somebody's going to have a past, present, or future problem with it. Yes or no? Right? So we can all agree on that. So I think until the churches understand, the faith-based community understand you have a problem, they have to first be told you have a problem, and it's not something to be ashamed about. Let's shine the light into the darkness. Let's disinfect it with the light. Let's come alongside you as a DV council that has been sanctioned by our county leadership, and pour our resources into the faith-based community and get on about doing that, instead of, we got to cut the budget, we got to cut personnel, we got to cut. This is, I believe, one of the most important yet so pushed aside issues where you can make the biggest difference in saving marriages, saving lives. So but the churches have to have, first they have to be told you have a problem in your congregation. I'm sorry to tell you, it's a little secret, but not be ashamed of it, to encourage them. And then it's to say, we will help you because we can provide awareness training. What's the goal? Let's first provide some awareness training to the leadership. What's the second goal? Well, let's set up a manual. I mean, what I did at my church in Escondido was I set up called a DACT, Domestic Abuse Care Team manual. They set up a committee and said, okay, well, I said, no, I'll just write it for you. It took me 3 hours, and in 3 hours I had 22 pages, barfed out. And it was basically intake, triage, safety plan, decide to refer in or out, and then, but have it be an accessible thing that's on your website. Print it on your bulletin that you hand each person as they come in for the service. Hey, if you or someone you know is the victim of, and list them, and then give them a website and give them a pathway. That's what our faith-based community needs, is a pathway, a plan, a model that's not been copyrighted, that they can copy, cut, and paste and make it easy for them. But they have to have a willing participant who is we'll call them the POC, the point of contact, if somebody is suffering from that faith-based community. So anyway, I've talked, sorry, and my passion has come through. And what questions do you have? Comments? Claudia, tell me your parting comment.
Yes, and it's so very true. That, and I just want to illustrate something that to support what Misty's saying. Traditionally, county government workers have separated religion out, right? We're not in the business of commingling faith, commingling religion, but something that my jaw dropped, but made me love her more, was the fact that my boss, Summer Steffen, when we opened One Safe Place, she insisted on having a faith room here at One Safe Place. If you have not come and taken a tour, please, please, please come. We opened 16 months ago and have surpassed 3,600 victims that have walked through our doors. But to get back to what I was saying is that there is a faith room here. And that's huge for a county elected official to say, if a victim wants faith, wants religion to be part of their healing journey, they should have it. We don't promote or endorse any religion. We have an in-house chaplain who basically is here to provide it. We have our 14 tribes came and outfitted us with the power of healing of sage. Our mosque friends brought prayer rugs. Our chaplain keeps a Quran, a Torah, a Bible, crosses, anything that someone needs. Or if you just need a hug and a hand holding, that's what it's all about as well. And know that God loves you, no matter what that God looks like to you. And we'll help you through, see you through this. So the fact that an elected official kind of made that connection and that intersection and said, you know, we need this. This has to be in our Family Justice Center that, yes, is district attorney led. That right there sends the message of how powerful and how vital, as Misty says, our religion, our faith is to our healing, to our prevention work, to basically everything we do. And so I agree that this is an important committee. And again, Karen, I can't send you enough hugs to thank you for continuing. And I love all the people attending here, the numbers that we have, and we have to continue to do that. And I applaud you and thank you for taking that message to your congregations. At any time, if you want our pamphlets, if you want our palm cards, if you want, you know, our website, anything, I'm right when I sign off, I will put my email on the chat. Please let me know. We can send you everything. We can be the resource that you need. We are now 96 partners strong. So 96, most of you, you know, probably are a partner at One Safe Place. 96 partners that could truly help anybody. And it's not just domestic violence. It's, you know, sexual assault, human trafficking, child abuse, elder abuse. Our elders are so isolated, are so vulnerable to scams and to hurt, hate crimes. So all of these victimizations we can help with. And so again, but faith, you can't lose that. That's something that we will work with you on. Yes, you work with your congregations, and I'm always here to help. So thank you so much.
You know, one of the things I was going to also say, that if you through your work, your committee work, as you're out maybe talking to those leaders in all different faiths, as Claudia said, you know, that we can't single it out to just one particular faith. But if you have the opportunity, whoever that is, ask them if they'd be willing to take part in a survey. Make it super informal, but ask them the question, you know, do you currently have a written plan or manual on how to ID and address family violence? Pretty simple, right? Or you can ask them, what would you do if ... What would you do if a member of your congregation, of your mosque, said, my family member, husband, wife, is abusing me, physically abusing me? What would you do? And you're going to get this, well, I have to think about that. And you're going to get a lot of maybe, you know, not real clear pathway. And, you know, so I think that sometimes it can be something super simple. You know, divorced people go to a faith-based service. And what do divorced people fight over? Child custody. Well, even the child custody battles, that violence and that tension and those problems come into the faith-based community as well. And it can create a very toxic, dangerous situation, not only for the mom and the dad, but for the congregation of other folks. So, you know, or asking them, how many family violence incidences have you been made aware of in your church? And they'd have to be honest and say, oh, just one or two. And I would think, okay, well, if you've got a church over 300, 400, 500 people, I think that there's some secrets going on, because I don't think they're being in full spirit of disclosure, or maybe they really don't know because they don't want to acknowledge that it's going on in their faith-based community. Hi, Taya.
I wanted to bring up a recent experience I had at my church. And I spoke with my pastor and I told him what I was doing, and that I wanted to just make sure that everyone in the church knew that they could come to me if something was needed around unhealthy relationships and or abuse. And so that same Sunday, I had the one sheet that we give out, and Claudia offered to send that to everyone in this room, which I think we should. And then when we go to our faith place, we should just say, hey, I got access to this and wanted to, can we just put them on the table so that someone could pick it up. But that same day that I got up in front of the church and I talked a little bit about this activity, the very same day, that very same Sunday, I got a call that afternoon about something going on, and it was elder abuse. And so I was able to help that woman who was very concerned about her grandmother to lead her to the resources that she needed to protect her, to set up whatever legal documents. Because the one thing I know about San Diego Domestic Violence Council and all of the partners involved, it's very vibrant. I've had to help a woman flee to Las Vegas before and couldn't find anything in comparison to the way we do it with the one safe place, one stop, tell the story once. And another case, North Carolina, and I would research after helping her get to safety where her family is to find the resources that she needed. There was a little bit of a challenge for me, but we have here in San Diego, we have access to just about everything that any family would need. And that part is amazing. And we need to make sure that we share that. The other thing with the faith committee is that we've been plowing this ground for a couple of years now. We've been plowing the ground and planting seeds. And we finally have a church that has agreed that they want us to come and do some trainings with them. They have identified one of their pastors and two other church members that would lead that effort. And so we're putting together a package for them, and we'll sit down with them. We're starting with leadership, and then leadership gets to appoint someone. And I promise you, there's someone in the church, there's someone in the mosque, there's someone in that temple each Sunday or Saturday, whenever they worship, that has experienced it. And those people are most likely, like myself, to step up and say, what can I do to help? Because they know the effects that it can have in your life and in your household and in your children's life. And we do actually our other one of our other vibrant committees of the council is the teen dating balance, because our children are in trouble. They're facing things that we never had to face. And between the bullying and human trafficking and all the other high risk things, we need to be as better equipped as we can. So the Teen Dating Balance Committee, they are also a part of the council. And we can get information to anyone interested. If you're interested in teen dating violence prevention, they work with San Diego School County Office of Education is one of their biggest partners. And so we're trying to help the children as well. So this is great. We're open for questions. And Misty, if you have more comments, please go ahead.
No, I'm just whatever questions or spitballing ideas.
I have a question. So I'm pretty active with some of the women's programs at my church. But I think the question is always that, when is it appropriate for the church to either step in or highlight the resources when it's still in that red flag stage? And it's certainly not enough to call law enforcement, but like you said, the oppression and the anxiety and fear is happening. But, in my mind, that's domestic violence already, intimate partner violence right there. But I think some other people, lay people, may not necessarily identify that as this is the time to act. So I guess that's my question as far as your protocol and what you've done in your faith community. How do you help people to kind of take that action when it's still that gray area or the red flag area?
That's actually when the faith-based community can be the most effective, is when law enforcement can really not do anything at all because a penal code has not been violated. So we're going to call a moral code, right? So let's look at that from a different policy, right? So God's policy, again, whether it's your authority is coming from the Torah, from the Quran, from, you know, whatever the religious authority is, I would pretty much guarantee that we're all going to be in agreement that the authority says that you're to not abuse your spouse or your children, right? So that's when the faith-based community can really rise and shine. And that is, okay, you have to have at least a setup of people that are willing to get some basic training, difference of when we have a law violation and a moral, biblical violation, if you will. And then at that point, it's assessing it, triaging it, finding out what are the circumstances of why the person is speaking up. And then there are so many people in my church through a counseling center that they assign people to spiritually mentor them, to come alongside them. They encourage them to go to family counseling within the church. So we'll call it not secular counseling, but faith-based counseling. They're both effective. But so I think it's a great question. And that's when the church rises and shines, is at the very beginning when they're starting to go, wow, if it's incompatibility, let me just be clear. If the relationship is on the rocks because of incompatibility, I don't like them anymore. We no longer have anything in common. We've grown apart. I heard that. Well, depending on what authority you use, right? That's not a biblical foundation for divorce, but we're not talking about incompatibility. We're talking about oppression of a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife that want to stay together in their marriage or their commitment, but it is unhealthy and the oppression is beginning and it may escalate then to physical violence. That's the time for, your pastor to sit down and say, hey, let's recognize we have the beginning stages or it's already happening in our church. Can we flush out of our congregation 2, 3, 4 different couples who are willing to get some intense training on this, and you come up with a written manual about how to address it? Because you really have to be responsible. You have to have a safety plan. You have to have let's discuss your current safety situation. Are you safe? Is there any violence going on? No. It's just, he calls me fat and he demeans me. And it's all of those icky things that are not illegal, but they're against the moral code of the authority that they're using, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. I think that's such a great motivation to take action.
Any other questions, comments? I think
if you don't want to speak your question, you can write it in the chat and we'll pose it to Misty and get a good answer from her and an experienced.
Is it safe for me to assume that everybody that's in this Zoom call are on then this subcommittee? Is that correct, or is this the whole DV Council right now?
We've shared the meeting announcement with the whole DV Council and also the county's faith sector mailing list.
Okay.
So Liz Wellbrock sent it out.
Gotcha. So my parting, I'll call it my battle cry, I'm going to rattle my saber right now, is to say, if each one of you, not under the authority of your job, forget your employment situation, in the privacy of your own heart, no matter what your faith is and what God looks to you, and you have a faith-based community that you personally participate in, if the good Lord is kind of tugging on your heart to do something in your church and approach your leadership with the idea of addressing this and take baby steps, put stuff on calendars. Because if you just say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and then they platitude and placate, and then you just move along, because the good idea fairies are abundant, right? But if you are willing to say, hey, I'm really serious, can I get an hour on your calendar and make a proposal that I put forward a 2-hour training on a Thursday night or a Saturday morning? I'll provide, breakfast burritos, and to any family members who want to come together to get some training about this, and that we start helping our families. If so, take off your county hat or whatever, whoever your employer is that you get a paycheck from. If this is tugging at you personally, you don't have to have the endorsement of this council to do that. I didn't have that. I was, disconnected from law enforcement, but I went to my church and said, hey, what are y'all doing with this? And I felt the need to speak up. So
I see Dr. Rodriguez, Vanessa Rodriguez, who is now the president of the San Diego Domestic Violence Council. I see she's in the room. But I wanted to back up on what Misty just said. And so as far as the training goes, the council will provide the training for free. So you don't have to write any trainings. We already have, and DB 101 might be the best place to start, which is just a typical overview, but it's kind of ice breaking. And we have multiple trainings that are available at no cost, and we can provide those trainings at your church, at your parish, at your mosque, whatever that, whatever it is. We want to meet the needs. But I agree with Misty that if this is tugging at your heart, then maybe it's time to just have a conversation with your faith leader and say, I went to this meeting and I'm concerned about this, or I think this may be happening, or whatever your thoughts and feelings are, not necessarily your feelings, but facts. And the fact is that we can come to where you gather and sit down and do those trainings for you at no cost. Dr. Rodriguez, I think you're not you're not on mute. So did you want to share something?
No, hold on. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
We're just glad you're here. She must be in the middle of something.
I think she's multitasking. Any other questions or comments from those in attendance? And feel free to type it in the chat if you'd like.
Hi, my name's Kat Dew, and I just want to say thank you so much, because I am with an organization called Safe Passage Heals. And my good friend Trish Steele started this organization in Los Angeles over 30 years ago. And we have just opened a San Diego office at our church at Jesus Culture. And we had a ribbon cutting ceremony just a couple weeks ago. And this is so helpful because I'm new in the area and I'm a counselor and I'm working with women and children, and having this committee and just the unity is awesome, because together we can make such a big difference. And I actually signed up for a tour to go see One Safe Place next week. So I'm looking forward to meeting Claudia. So what I'm understanding is that rather than make these trainings available to us, you would like to come into the churches where people are gathered and you facilitate it yourself.
We typically have monthly trainings in like a rotation. And so if you make sure that you put your contact information in the chat, then we'll make sure that you get access to those trainings that you can attend, as well as the offering of coming. You know, as a church person, I'm like, at the end, there's always an offering, right? So that's the offering that we give, is to support you, to help you, to equip you to be able to facilitate anything that may arise and have the resources that you need as well.
Awesome. Okay. I'm not in a position to text it right now, but I will definitely get in touch and give you my resource information. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And Kat, first of all, love your name, Kat Do. Oh, I so want to borrow that. But you know, I again applaud the fact that, as Karen and I had worked many years ago trying to come up with a tangible tangible things that you all as a council can offer, right? It's as if you're going to go on the website and you want to order a pizza. I'll take that pizza with that topping on it. That I stressed how important it was to bring that, like the delivery services, right? How easy is it is now DoorDash. I want, you know, Chick-fil-A, and you call DoorDash, comes right to your front door, right? It benefits an employee of DoorDash, and then benefits Chick-fil-A because it's more sales for them. If this council with their subcommittee can provide and go into the faith-based organizations and do a 90-minute, 2-hour kind of 30,000-foot view of what family violence is, and then encourage them to set up a committee to provide a pathway of how to figure that out within their own church community. Don't get too deep into the church, right? Or the faith-based community. Just provide what is it. And we encourage you to develop a manual, a triage, a point of contact, and that you publicize it within your own organization. That's the thing, is I always say, remove the obstacle. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Remove the obstacle from, I want to be able to take the no away. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to be a salesperson, right? I want to remove the reason that they could say no. So if you can bring the village to the faith-based community and do the training on their terms and their time frame on their soil, wow. And because you have the blessing of the elected district attorney, right, that faith is an important component for family violence, I don't believe that there's any violation for anybody to go into those faith-based places. I was invited in a police uniform to go to many different churches. At their time frame, it would do speaking, public speaking, and training in a uniform. So because I had the backing and the support, not only through the district attorney's office, but as well as my employer, SDPD. So I say to you, Kat, do, if that's something that, you know, whatever your contacts are and how that you can bring that in, the product has already been developed, and just now call DoorDash, meaning the council, and say, we want it delivered to our community. That just made it so much easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great advice. And I believe in those divine setups. Absolutely.
Okay, well, if we have no further questions or comments for our wonderful presenter today, then I guess we'll get back some time this morning. And we want to wish you happy, safe holidays, that your homes will be full of love and laughter and joy. And I remember my pastor praying this week about how happy we are to live in America and how blessed we are to live in America. And he said that several times. And then it was around Veterans Day too, but also I think with all the things going on in our world, aren't you happy that you live in America and not in some of those other countries where, yeah, we just need to keep praying. We just need to stay prayerful. So we thank you for being here. We hope that we won't be meeting in December, but we will start fresh again in January. We meet on the third Thursday of every month. And we try to toggle. Sometimes it's 10 a.m., sometimes it's 2. We tend to get better attendance at 10 a.m. And so we'll probably keep it there. But third Thursdays of every month, starting in January, we'll have a wonderful speaker, presenter, or a training. And it's hard to follow Misty, but she's a model for us. She set it up. She left the SDPD and set it up a ministry in her church, his service families. And that to me is amazing. So, you notice she said there was no copyright infringement there. So I think Misty might be willing to share with any mosque or temple or church that is interested in seeing how to triage and the different steps that would help to heal families. That's the ultimate goal, is to heal.
Karen,
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that I was blessed and helped today with the presentation, and we remain committed to this passion, and please keep us in the loop.
Yes, thank you, Pastor. Thank you. There's Dr. Rodriguez.
Hi.
Can you intro
Can you hear me?
yourself? Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, guys. I didn't have a meeting in the calendar. I'm so sorry. And I was at the post office in the parking lot. And I'm so sorry to have missed this. And I know I saw in the chat if this was, if we'd be able to see this.
It is recorded.
Yes, we can send the
Fantastic.
link out.
Okay.
We'll add it to our
Thank you,
YouTube
Misty, for
page.
coming. And thank you for all of your years of service. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
Yes, Dr. Rodriguez is now the president. She took over. Claudia passed the baton to her, so she is the president of the Domestic Violence Council countywide. And so she's an amazing woman with a really powerful background and story. And yeah, so we're happy to have her join us.
Congratulations. And I know that God equips all of us for our unique positions and our vocation to do such great work. So I'm excited for you, and what a worthwhile, I know it's an additional duty along with whatever your other duties are, but so it's a worthwhile thing. It may not look like it myopically, but when you pull back, it really, this council does make a big difference. So it's needed, it's important. And so my very best wishes for you, Doctor, in your leadership role.
Thank you, Missy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Karen, for the nice introduction. Yeah, I'm happy to connect with you, Misty. I would love to. Actually, I would love to pick your brain. And yes, I'm super, super eager for the next couple years. I have a lot of stuff planned and ideas to collaborate and to train and to educate and support and kind of all of that. So, and the council's near and dear. My first meeting was about 15 years ago. So I'm, it's an honor.
Very good. Good for you. Yay.
Happy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time and your energy. We hope that you gleaned something that is relative to your life and your path, and know that we're always here to support.
Bye, you guys. Thank you for all your great work. I appreciate what you
Miss.
do. And Taya, it was so good to see you, beautiful girl.
Hi.
One of my mentees. She's awesome. Okay, you guys. God bless you all.
All right. God bless you.
Bye.
Happy holidays.